Your greatest weapon isn't your voice, it's your silence. In a world that celebrates noise, that rewards the loudest person in the room, that mistakes volume for value, I'm here to tell you something revolutionary. Your power doesn't come from what you say, it comes from what you choose not to say. The most successful people on this planet have mastered an art that schools don't teach, universities don't emphasize, and society doesn't celebrate. The art of strategic silence. You see, we've been conditioned to believe that strength means always speaking up, always having the last word, always defending ourselves, always explaining our positions. But what if I told you that real strength, the kind that builds empires and changes destinies, comes from knowing when to close your mouth and open your mind? What if I told you that your silence, when properly deployed, becomes more powerful than 1,000 words? Today I'm going to share with you 5 specific situations where your silence becomes your superpower. Where focusing on yourself instead of responding to the world transforms you from ordinary to extraordinary. These aren't just concepts. These are battle-tested principles that separate those who dream from those who achieve, those who talk from those who transform, those who react from those who create. The journey we're about to embark on isn't just about learning when to be quiet. It's about understanding that when you focus on yourself, truly focus on developing your gifts, your talents, your purpose, the noise of the world becomes irrelevant. It's about discovering that your internal development is more important than external validation, that your private victories determine your public success, that your silence speaks louder than most people's speeches. You were born with something unique, something nobody else on this planet possesses in quite the same way. You have a combination of talents, experiences, perspectives, and potential that the world has never seen before and will never see again. Your DNA, your fingerprints, your neural pathways, everything about you is one of a kind. The question isn't whether you are, and here's where most people get it wrong. They spend their lives looking outward, comparing themselves to others, seeking approval, chasing validation, responding to every critic, explaining themselves to every doubter. They exhaust their energy in conversations that don't matter, with people who don't care about outcomes that don't last. Meanwhile, their unique gifts remain undeveloped. Their potential remains untapped. Their purpose remains unfulfilled. Focusing on yourself isn't selfish. It's necessary. It's not arrogance, it's responsibility. When you develop yourself, when you maximize your potential, when you become everything you were created to be, you don't just benefit yourself. You benefit everyone whose life you'll touch with your fully realized gifts. The world isn't waiting for another copy. It's waiting for the original you were meant to be. But there's a difference between self-focus and self-obsession. Self-focus is strategic. It's about developing your capacity. Self-obsession is narcissistic. It's about feeding your ego. Self-focus asks, how can I become better than I was yesterday? Self-obsession asks, how can I look better than others? You must build your internal kingdom before you can conquer external territories. You must master yourself before you can master your circumstances. You must win the battle within before you can win the battles without. And this is where strategic silence becomes your secret weapon. Let me share with you the first situation where your silence becomes more powerful than words. When others criticize your dreams. The moment you dare to dream beyond the ordinary, the moment you set goals that make average people uncomfortable, the moment you declare intentions that challenge the status quo, the critics will appear. They will come from everywhere, friends who come from everywhere, friends who don't want to see you get hurt, colleagues who are trying to be realistic. These dream killers aren't usually malicious. They're projecting their own fears, their own limitations, their own disappointments onto your possibilities. When someone tells you your dream is too big, they're really saying their courage is too small. When someone says your goal is unrealistic, they're really admitting their faith is underdeveloped. The psychology behind why people attack visionaries is fascinating. Your dreams make them uncomfortable because your ambition highlights their complacency. Your vision exposes their short-sightedness. Your courage reveals their cowardice. Rather than be inspired to elevate themselves, they try to bring you down to their level. This is where silence becomes your shield and your sword. When you engage with critics, when you defend your dreams, when you explain your vision to people who lack vision, you're not just wasting energy, you're contaminating your own belief system. Every time you justify your dreams to someone who can't see past next week, you're inviting their limitations into your unlimited potential. The most successful people in history understood this principle. When the Wright brothers were told humans would never fly, they didn't argue. They built. When Thomas Edison was told electric light was impossible, he didn't debate, he invented. When Steve Jobs was told personal computers would never sell, he didn't defend, he created. Their silence wasn't weakness, it was wisdom. You see, there's something powerful that happens when you remain silent in the face of criticism. You conserve emotional energy that you can channel into productive action. You avoid planting seeds of doubt in your own mind through defensive arguments. You maintain the purity of your vision without contamination from limited thinking. You demonstrate a level of confidence that actually unsettles your critics more than any argument would. Here's how you maintain focus when facing opposition. Write down your vision in detail. Make it so clear, so vivid, so specific that you can see it when you close your eyes. Surround yourself with evidence of possibility, biographies of achievers, examples of breakthrough, proof that the impossible becomes inevitable for those who persist. Create a response template for critics, not to share with them, but to remind yourself. Something like, thank you for sharing your perspective. I'll give it the consideration it deserves. Then give it exactly the consideration it deserves. None. The power of proving critics wrong through results, not words, cannot be overstated. When you succeed in silence, when you achieve without announcement, when you accomplish without argument, your success becomes undeniable. Your results become your response. Your achievement becomes your answer. This brings us to the second situation where silence serves your success. When you're tempted to reveal your plans too early. This is perhaps the most dangerous moment for any dream, any goal, any ambition, the moment of premature revelation. You're excited, you're energized. You've just had a breakthrough idea, a brilliant insight, a game-changing plan. Every fiber of your being wants to share it, to shout it from the rooftops, to tell everyone who will listen. Stop right there. This moment of excitement is exactly when you need silence most. There's a scientific principle at work here that most people don't understand. When you talk about your plans, when you share your goals, when you announce your intentions, your brain experiences a small release of dopamine, the same chemical released when you actually achieve something. In other words, talking about your goals gives you a false sense of accomplishment. You feel good about what you're going to do, which reduces your drive to actually do it. When you speak your plans into existence prematurely, you're exposing a seed to the elements before it has a chance to root. You're bringing a baby into the world before it's fully formed. You're revealing a masterpiece before it's complete. And in that exposure, you risk destruction. Ideas, like seeds, need time to germinate. They need the darkness of privacy to develop their roots. They need the protection of silence to grow strong. When you expose them too early to the opinions of others, to the weather of criticism, to the winds of doubt, you risk killing them before they have a chance to bloom. Think about the greatest innovations, the most successful companies, the most impactful movements in history. They were all built in silence before they were revealed to the world. The iPhone was developed in complete secrecy. The most successful military operations are planned in absolute confidentiality. There's a reason for this. Premature exposure invites premature opposition. When you announce your plans, you're not just sharing information, you're inviting interference. You're giving potential competitors a head start. You're allowing doubters to plant seeds of uncertainty. You're enabling saboteurs to prepare their obstacles. I've watched countless projects fail, not because they lacked merit, but because they were exposed too early. The entrepreneur who announced his revolutionary app idea at a networking event only to see it launched by someone else 6 months later. The employee who shared her promotion strategy with colleagues only to watch someone else implement it first. Building in silence doesn't mean building alone. It means being selective about who you include in your process. It means sharing with mentors, not masses. It means seeking advice from achievers, not approval from averages. The formula is simple. Build in silence, celebrate in public. Work in silence, let success make the noise. Plan in silence, let results do the talking. This principle becomes even more critical in the third situation requiring strategic silence, when you're surrounded by negative conversations. You're at work and colleagues are complaining about the company. You're with family and they're gossiping about relatives. You're with friends and they're criticizing everything and everyone. The pull to participate is strong. The pressure to contribute is real. Resist. Negativity is possibly the most contagious force in human interaction. It spreads faster than any virus, infects deeper than any disease, and damages more than any physical ailment. When you engage with negative conversations, when you add your voice to the chorus of complaint, when you contribute to the symphony of cynicism, you're not just wasting time, you're poisoning your potential. Your mind is the most valuable real estate you own. Every thought you allow to take residence, every conversation you permit to occupy space, every negative notion you let establish itself is taking up room that should be reserved for possibility, for creativity, for solutions, for growth. When you engage with pessimists, you're essentially renting out premium mental property to squatters who will trash the place. But here's where it gets interesting. You can't always remove yourself physically from negative situations. You have to work with certain people. You have to attend certain gatherings. This is where you need to master the art of physical presence with mental absence. You're there, but you're not there. You're present, but you're protected. Think of yourself as wearing an invisible shield. Negative words hit the shield and fall away. Pessimistic perspectives bounce off without penetrating. Toxic thoughts are deflected before they can infect. You hear the words, but you don't internalize the energy. The techniques for redirecting negative conversations are subtle but powerful. When someone starts complaining, ask them, what's the solution? When someone begins gossiping, change the subject to something positive about that person. When someone starts criticizing, acknowledge their feeling without affirming their perspective. The key is creating boundaries without creating enemies. You don't have to confront every negative person. You don't have to challenge every cynical statement. Your silence isn't agreement, it's self-preservation. Your lack of participation isn't weakness, it's wisdom. I've discovered that the most successful people have developed an almost supernatural ability to remain untouched by negativity. They can sit in a room full of complainers and remain focused on solutions. They can be surrounded by critics and stay centered on creation. This brings us to the fourth situation demanding your silence. When emotions want to control your response. Someone insults you and everything in you wants to respond. Someone disrespects you and every cell in your body wants to retaliate. Someone attacks you and every emotion you have wants to defend. No, there's a 24-hour rule that has saved more careers, relationships, and reputations than any other principle I know. When you feel emotionally triggered, when you want to respond from a place of anger, hurt, or frustration, wait 24 hours. What feels urgent in the moment rarely remains urgent after a day of reflection. The reason immediate reactions rarely serve your purpose is because they come from your emotional brain, not your executive brain. They're driven by fight or flight, not wisdom and insight. They're powered by ego, not strategy. They're fueled by pride, not purpose. The wisdom of processing before pronouncing cannot be overstated. In that 24-hour period, something magical happens. Your initial anger transforms into understanding. Your hurt evolves into perspective. Your frustration develops into strategy. What seemed like an attack might reveal itself as a miscommunication. What felt like disrespect might expose itself as insecurity. Silence in emotional moments gives you power over circumstances that immediate reaction surrenders. When someone attacks and you don't respond, they are left shadowboxing. When someone insults and you remain unmoved, they are left wondering if their words even landed. This is emotional intelligence in action. It's not about suppressing emotions. It's about channeling them strategically. It's not about being emotionless. It's about being emotionally masterful. The most respected leaders in history understood this principle. When Abraham Lincoln received scathing letters, he would write fierce responses and then put them in a drawer, never to be sent. When Nelson Mandela was insulted by prison guards, he would smile and remain silent, knowing his dignity was more powerful than any words. This leads us to the fifth situation requiring your silence. When success tempts you to boast, you've achieved something significant, you've reached a major milestone, you've accomplished what others said was impossible. The temptation to announce, to celebrate publicly, to make sure everyone knows about your success is overwhelming. Resist. The trap of premature celebration is subtle but deadly. When you boast about success, you're not just sharing information, you're inviting opposition. You're not just celebrating achievement, you're creating competitives. You're not just announcing victory, you are arousing envy. Humility isn't just a virtue, it's a strategy. When you achieve in silence, when you succeed without fanfare, when you accomplish without announcement, you maintain the element of surprise for your next move. You keep competitors guessing. You prevent enemies from forming. The principle of compound success through silence is mathematically sound. Every time you achieve without announcing, you build momentum without resistance. Every time you succeed without boasting, you accumulate power without opposition. History is littered with examples of those who lost everything through pride. The athlete who celebrated too early and lost focus. The businessman who boasted about his wealth and attracted audits. The politician who declared victory prematurely and motivated opposition. Well, the alternative is letting results speak louder than rhetoric. When your work speaks for itself, you don't have to. When your success is evident, you don't need to evidence it. There's something infinitely more powerful about discovered success than declared success. Now you might be wondering, how do I actually implement this in daily life? This is where the discipline of daily focus becomes your foundation. Success isn't built in dramatic moments. It's built in daily disciplines. Creating morning rituals that center your purpose is where it all begins. The first hour of your day sets the tone for the next 23. If you begin with noise, checking emails, scrolling social media, responding to messages, you've already surrendered your focus. If you begin with silence, meditation, journaling, planning, you've already claimed your power. The practice of intentional solitude is not isolation, it's insulation. It's creating space between yourself and the constant demands of the world. It's establishing boundaries between your purpose and others' priorities. Measuring progress privately before sharing publicly is crucial. Keep a private journal of your achievements. Track your growth in secret spreadsheets. This isn't about secrecy, it's about strategy. When you measure privately, you maintain validation without seeking validation. Building mental muscles through meditation. is like going to the gym for your mind. Every moment of chosen silence strengthens your ability to remain silent when it matters. Every instance of deliberate focus enhances your capacity to focus when it counts. The power of journaling your journey cannot be underestimated. When you write your thoughts, you clarify them. When you document your progress, you solidify it. But this is private writing, personal documentation, secret recording. Your journal is your sanctuary, your safe space, your silent partner in success. Surrounding yourself with growth-minded individuals is essential. But this doesn't mean constant conversation. The best relationships often contain the most comfortable silences. The deepest connections frequently require the fewest words. Find people who understand your silence, who respect your focus, who support your growth without requiring constant updates. As you implement these principles, the transformation through selective silence begins to manifest in unexpected ways. After just 30 days of practicing strategic silence, of focusing on yourself instead of responding to others, the changes become undeniable. The relationships improve, not despite speaking less, but because of it. When you do speak, your words carry more weight. When you do share, your thoughts have more depth. When you do communicate, your message has more impact. The increase in personal productivity is exponential. Energy previously wasted in unnecessary conversations is redirected into meaningful action. Time previously spent defending positions is invested in strengthening positions. The clarity that comes from internal focus is like switching from standard definition to high definition. Suddenly your goals become crystal clear. Your purpose becomes undeniably evident. Your path becomes unmistakably visible. You become a person of substance over noise. While others are talking about what they're going to do, you're doing it. While others are explaining their plans, you're executing them. While others are defending their dreams, you're living them. Let me share a profound truth as we approach our conclusion. The world is divided into two types of people: those who talk and those who transform, those who announce and those who achieve, those who promise and those who produce. The difference between these two groups isn't talent, intelligence, or opportunity. The difference is the strategic use of silence. Your silent revolution begins the moment you decide that your development is more important than others' opinions. It accelerates when you realize that your growth doesn't require anyone's permission. It explodes when you understand that your potential doesn't need anyone's validation. The 5 situations we've explored: when others criticize your dreams, when tempted to reveal plans too early, when surrounded by negative conversations, when emotions want to control your response, and when success tempts you to boast. These are not just circumstances to navigate. They're opportunities to demonstrate mastery. The compound effect of focused self-development through strategic silence is like interest on an investment. It starts small, almost imperceptible, but given time, given consistency, given discipline, it becomes unstoppable. Each day of focused silence builds upon the last. Each moment of chosen quiet adds to your power. You're not just joining the ranks of silent achievers. You're entering an ancient tradition of transformers who understood that the loudest person in the room is rarely the most powerful. You're joining visionaries who knew that building in silence creates foundations that noise can never shake. This is your invitation to practice the principles we've discussed, to implement the strategies we've explored, to embody the wisdom we've uncovered. Not tomorrow, not next week, not when you feel ready. Now, in this moment, with the very next interaction you have. The legacy you'll create through strategic silence won't be measured in the words you spoke, but in the lives you impacted. It won't be recorded in the arguments you won, but in the achievements you accomplished. It won't be remembered for the noise you made, but for the transformation you embodied. Your journey of focused self-development begins with a paradox. To be heard, you must first be silent. To be powerful, you must first be peaceful. To be significant, you must first be strategic. This isn't just philosophy, it's physics. This isn't just wisdom, it's science. And the next 30 days, practice strategic silence in these 5 situations. Don't announce it. Don't explain it. Don't defend it. Just do it. Focus on yourself with an intensity that makes the noise of the world irrelevant. Build your dreams in the sanctuary of silence. Develop your gifts in the laboratory of quiet. When those 30 days are complete, you won't need to tell anyone what you've discovered. Your presence will communicate it. Your peace will demonstrate it. Your power will evidence it. You will have joined the ranks of those who understand that in a world addicted to noise, silence isn't just golden, it's revolutionary. The question isn't whether you'll face these 5 situations. You will. The question is whether you'll remember this message when you do. Whether you'll choose silence over sound. Whether you'll select focus over reaction. Whether you'll pick purpose over ego. Your transformation awaits. Your potential beckons. Your significance calls. But it all begins with a simple choice. The choice to close your mouth and open your future. The choice to silence the noise and amplify your purpose. The choice to focus on yourself and watch the world reorganize itself around your clarity. The silent revolution of focus begins now, not tomorrow, not when conditions are perfect, but in this very moment. The 5 situations we've explored: criticism of dreams, premature revelation, negative conversations, emotional triggers, and success temptations. These aren't obstacles, they're opportunities. Each moment of strategic silence builds your power exponentially. You stand at the crossroads between noise and significance, between reaction and creation, between talking and transforming. The loudest voices rarely carry the most weight. The busiest people rarely create the most impact. True power emerges from the depth of your silence, not the volume of your voice. Your transformation doesn't require permission, validation, or announcement. It requires decision, discipline, and dedication. While others exhaust themselves in endless conversations, you'll build empires in quiet determination. While they defend their limitations, you'll demolish yours in strategic silence. This is your moment of choice. Will you join the masses who talk about change or the masters who embody it? Will you waste your potential in pointless arguments or invest it in powerful achievements? The world isn't waiting for another voice. It's waiting for your transformed presence. Your silent revolution starts with this simple truth. Focus on yourself, stay silent when it matters, and let your results roar. Begin now. The world is listening to your silence.